You know, tomorrow might be Summerfest for Jeremy Piven and pals, and SummerSlam for everybody else.
Everybody on Earth.
But today was NXT Takeover Brooklyn, the 4th iteration of it. And I gotta say, it's kind of like my penis. Short. Yeah, it's short.
Yeah, really.
Short, sweet, to the point. And it was pretty damn good.
Yep.
At least so no ladies say. But the point is, this was actually fucking fantastic. This is, once again, NXT is schooling the main roster on how to do it.
Yeah.
Every fucking match had a good storyline behind it. People were invested in the storylines. People cared about the characters. You know? You don't need to stuff everything on the fucking planet into one billion-hour event.
And it did not overstay its welcome. In fact, you kind of wanted a little more.
How long was this one?
It was supposed to be scheduled for 3 hours, but I think it was a little shorter.
Yeah, I think it was might have been a little short. Either way, it's the perfect length with the perfect amount of stuff in it and the perfect matches in it, and that's all you need. That's all you need.
Yep.
Main roster. Anyway, let's talk about this bad boy. Started off strong. Some might say the strongest match was at the beginning. I don't know. I don't know what to think yet. But if it wasn't, it was a pretty damn close contender to being called the strongest match, and that was Mustache Mountain versus the Undisputed Era. Of course, this is one match in a series that they've had after, you know, the belt went from one end to the other.
I think it's their 3rd match.
Yeah,
as a team.
And so far, all the matches have been pretty spectacular. And I got to say, this was another notch in the spectacular post. Who did you think was going to win? Who did you want to win?
I assumed Undisputed was going to retain, and I kind of wanted them to retain.
Yeah, same here. I assumed as much, and it would make sense as much, considering, you know, what's been going on, the back and forth. And I wanted them to. But, as is almost typical now with NXT events,
yeah, it would have been cool.
It would have been fine either way, whoever won. Anyway, this was, of course, for the Tag Championship belts. How it ended was the Undisputed Era, you know, assaulted Mustache Mountain with their beautifully executed combo finisher, you know, that they both do together, and that was that. But it wasn't that simple the whole time. They first of all, these guys are either incredible technicians or incredible athletes, depending on what moment in the match, and that was displayed, or a combination of both elements all at once. Never a dull moment in this fucking match. Some great spots in it, and I think my favorite spot in the whole thing was when they were teasing Seven throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
That was awesome because it felt genuine. It felt like maybe he could actually throw in the towel, and that would be that.
When then he threw it out and instead of kind of willed him to come to his way.
Yeah, it was very nice, man. Good exchange between the two. Did you find any cons in this? Conversely, any pros that stand out? Because there was a lot of pros in this.
Yeah, I don't think there's any cons. I don't think it's their best match. I think their second match is still my favorite of theirs. But this one was pretty damn great. It was going to be hard to live up to that second match in my book. It made my nipples hard, that second one, which is kind of gay if you think about it.
Very gay, yeah.
But this one was damned good, and I can't even say it's a con, but you know, because I wanted Undisputed Era to retain, but I could see someone wanting, you know, it's a win-win for me.
Yeah,
it was a good one.
At the end of this match, the War Raiders came
also, I'm gonna
out
take
of
my
nowhere.
hair off because it's really hot.
Came out of nowhere and laid waste to the winners, the Undisputed Era, thus giving us the whole cue. I mean, they had been teased before, giving us the go-ahead to a rivalry between those two as they get the belt in their sights. So another lesson for the main roster: hey, when someone loses, it's time to move on. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, especially if the matches suck. Thankfully, these haven't sucked.
Yeah,
we could have done with a whole slew more of Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era.
Yeah, and it was kind of a feud that kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. And was surprised in how good they were together. And yeah, I'm glad they're kind of calling it, calling it here. It seems like, at least, and just let them be good. Don't overdo it.
Yeah,
like you said, move on. Let those babies live in infamy.
Now, another nascent feud was our next match, and that is the Velveteen Dream versus EC3. And I think, first of all, this was the perfect match to follow up the first match, because the first match was so much full of athletic prowess, and of course it had this cool shadow it was working under these previous 2 matches they'd had. Velveteen and EC3, like I said, nascent. It's a feud that really is just about swagger and ego, as the commentators
and
put
dark
it.
voids that they live in for some reason.
Yeah. And, it's the perfect kind of tongue-in-cheek, I wouldn't say filler because the match was great, but, in terms of, if this was a main roster match, this would be a filler match. Except this isn't a main roster match, so it's fucking good filler.
Yeah.
It's yummy filler, which is gay because Velveteen Dream's involved.
Super gay.
But, yeah, man, Velveteen versus EC3, again, basically just a battle of egos. They can't share the spotlight. That's what they're telling us. This is all about. And you know what? It worked.
Yeah.
These guys sell their eccentric personality so fucking well that this ridiculous feud that came out of nowhere
literally,
over the course of
it's like
few
2 weeks. Yeah.
It fucking worked. And most graciously, Kona Reeves wasn't part of it. So that's the best part. But let's talk about this real quick. Who did you think was gonna win? Who did you want to win?
I didn't. You know what? I didn't even think of who would win. I was just kind of like, I'm good either way.
Mm-hmm.
I did want my boy Velveteen to win just because I love Velveteen. But again, I would have been happy with EC3 winning also.
I expected Velveteen to win, and I would have kind of been a little frustrated if he hadn't.
Oh, let me turn that off.
Because, he hasn't really won in these big events, anything considerable. So, it would be that time for him to give him this.
Yeah.
And, but again, I would have been fine either way. Since the feud is so nascent, it wouldn't have really harmed either of them. But anyway, how it ended was, yes, Velveteen, in fact, did win. He did a it's a Dream Valley driver for him. A Dream Valley driver, followed by an elbow drop on the apron, which looked pretty painful. So Velveteen took the win. There was some interesting spots in this. First of all, before we even get to the what I'm talking about with the interesting spots, there was something about the Velveteen Dream's attire that caught my attention. I think everybody's attention in the stadium, and it said his ass said, "Call me up, Vince."
And he proudly displayed it when he got up there.
Yeah, that might just be the thing that convinces Vince, a tight man ass.
It could go either way. He'll either love it and call him up instantly, or
fire
hate
him.
Yeah, and bury him.
Either way, I hope he doesn't get called up, because that will be the death of the Velveteen Dream right there. He'll be diluted and be, I don't know, pimped out to some
He's gonna be on like main events
workers.
and shit like that. Yeah.
So I hope that doesn't happen yet. Give us a little bit more Velveteen before you call him up and ruin him. Anyway, got that off my fucking back. There was, I don't know if this was intentional or not. Tell me what you think. But there was a spot somewhere towards like the first third of the match that was kind of like a mirror image of the Shawn Michaels overselling the Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
bit.
yeah, that was odd.
I don't know if that was intentional or not. It looked intentional. It followed almost the exact same beats. But I thought that was interesting.
I'm guessing it was because of how they'd even had EC3 looking confused like Hulk Hogan was.
Yeah.
The way he was thrown into the ropes and just kind of climbed. Yeah, you're right. It was very. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming it was intentional. I hope it was.
It sure as hell looked intentional. Either way, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Because of what we related to. I will say that at first I wasn't entirely convinced the match was gonna work.
Yeah, me too.
But then it just popped into work mode. I was like, wow, this is really fun. Exchange between these guys, which is good because EC3 hasn't had, with the exception of the 5-man match, I think for the contendership of the NA belt. With the exception of that, he hasn't really had a fantastic match per se. They've been good. It's just nothing that stands out. I think this is the first one he's been in where it's like that was a fun as hell match. So that's good. I will say that there was this one part where EC3 was taunting old Velveteen with one of his grinds, and Velveteen grabbed onto his fucking trunks and pulled down more than once. By the way,
his butthole was showing
a little fucking crack, full exposed mode. And I don't know if you caught this or not. EC3 looked genuinely pissed.
He did, yeah.
He looked like, what the fuck, bro? You just exposed my fucking nalgas to the world.
He looked either confused or really annoyed.
Yeah, he looked fucking annoyed. Backslash, possibly very pissed.
Yeah.
And he even kind of motioned at him like, what the fuck? My fucking butt cheeks.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, too, because the angle that in which he pulled the pants in during was not showing the hard camera, but then they cut to the hard camera, which just shows exactly his ass.
Well, that's like when it happened.
Yeah.
When they cut. It was like, oh shit, this fucking little nalgas are on the loose. Anyway, very good match. Pretty damn cool.
Oh, and Velveteen's crotch also ripped, but unfortunately we didn't get to see no ding-a-ling.
There was no ding-a-lings flopping around. Yeah. We hoped. Alas.
Didn't happen.
No dice. No. Anyway, any cons you might want to speak of? No?
Yes, just because, like you said, at first I wasn't sure about it. It's not that it was slow. It was just kind of like something wasn't clicking well. But then when it did click, you're like, all right, this is cool. Mm-hmm. But that's not really a con. It was just like an observation, I would say.
Right. The next match was Adam Cole versus Ricochet. And surprisingly, the majority of the crowd was behind. By the way, before we even go, just because I mentioned the crowd in this is what a crowd should be at a big event.
Yeah.
And, if fucking the main roster has taught us anything, is that they can kill a fucking crowd immediately. Nobody caring, all that shit. This crowd was actively involved from point A to Z, every single match, etc. And this was one of the big ones for crowd involvement. A lot of people behind Adam Cole, surprisingly. I mean, I say surprisingly, but really not, because Adam Cole, he's a charismatic fuck. And the Undisputed Era is already one of the greatest stables. But, Ricochet is renowned. But, people that flock to NXT are, usually aware of who these people are. And Ricochet is a favorite. And so that was pretty surprising to me. But anyway, I do know that Ricochet had just been coming off a pseudo-injury. Like,
Yeah.
He had taken some time off, basically, to make sure that the injury didn't recur. So that was a concern at first. But anyway, this was for the North American Championship. Who did you think was going to win? Who did you want to win?
I assumed Adam Cole was going to win. I kind of wanted Adam Cole to win.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're so good as that kind of like, we have all the belts, douchey little stable.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little surprised.
Yeah, so spoiler, he didn't win.
Yeah.
I kind of expected Adam Cole to win too. The feud, the seeds to this feud, they've been around for a while. But the thing is, Ricochet has just come into the company.
Yeah.
So that's why I expected maybe it was not gonna change hands. But thankfully, NXT doesn't work with what you expect. They kind of throw a corner out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you have to turn that fucking wheel 90 degrees so that you can get back on the fucking road. And that's what they did here, because lo and behold, old Ricochet won. So anyway, he ended up winning with he did a Hurricanrana he jumped out of the fucking ring and hooked fucking Adam Cole in the Hurricanrana, who was on the apron. And after that, he threw him back in and then did his signature 630 off the corner. And that was that, folks. But up to that point, what did you think?
I liked this match quite a bit. It wasn't as fast paced, at least in the beginning, as we're used to with Ricochet matches. But it did pick up. And that's not to say it was a negative. It was actually pretty cool. It was just different. But I thought it did pick up towards the end, and I really liked. There's this one spot where they were trading kicks.
Mm-hmm.
That was badass, and it was a shocking ending. So I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was one kind of like the Velveteen Dream and EC3 thing, where at first it didn't seem like they.
Yeah.
And this one more than the Velveteen and EC3 thing.
Yeah, it lasted a little longer.
It seemed like their styles weren't clicking exactly. And somewhere along the way, maybe halfway into the match, maybe a little bit before that, I really think it was on Ricochet's side, to tell you the truth, that he wasn't exactly working on the level with Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Which is odd, because he's so, versatile and agile. You'd think he could work, in a way that would look.
Yeah, he was good. He was very grounded in this one, mm-hmm. But it wasn't a strong ground game either. It was kind of like
that's the thing.
It was okay,
but
until it clicked.
Yeah, but somewhere along the way there, around that time, Ricochet just, I guess, decided, fuck this, I'm gonna do what I do, and then it started picking up, and as it turned out, their styles did mesh pretty well at that point. And great call on that spot. That was my favorite spot in the whole thing. The kick exchange. It was pretty neat, man. Need to say, by the end, everybody was involved in this. It was a good match. I really
pretty
liked
nasty thing where Ricochet jumps and Adam Cole kicks him in the freaking neck.
Yeah, when they replayed that, everybody was saying the jaw, and then even they were like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
And he had a welt on his neck.
Little fucking neck shot right there. Yeah. But yeah, ultimately a very good match. I expected Adam Cole to win. Shocker.
Yeah.
Did not. But anyway, the next one was Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler. Who's, baby. And by that I mean she has the face of an evil baby.
Yeah,
the fuck's wrong with her face?
Yeah.
She is mean.
Kind of like a midget looking thing.
Yeah, midget baby. That's really cruel. But
and breaks his leg in WrestleMania.
Yeah. But Shayna Baszler is basically, NXT's equivalent, or I should say NXT's female division equivalent of Brock Lesnar, only much more effective.
Yeah,
because
and
she
actually defends her shit.
Yeah, and she has been working her way through the roster. So I did expect her to lose the belt at this point, because who else does she have to mow through? She's defeated everyone.
Yeah,
and they've been building this story since the Mae Young Classic, which is great. Main roster. You don't have to focus every fucking episode on a story and drive into people's skull with a hammer. They let this motherfucker stew in the background. They let her go her own way. They let Kairi Sane go her own way, and then they brought it back. Guess what? People don't forget, you fucking assholes. Anyway, NXT knows that, so they did it right. And guess what? It lost none of its steam and none of its meaning. So anyway, this was, as I said, for the NXT Women's Championship. Did you expect Shayna to lose it as I did, or did you expect something else?
I didn't expect her to lose it, but I didn't really think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
When you put it that way, yeah, there really is no one else to go up against her, unless they were gonna bring back the Dakota Kai thing, which I think already died. So yeah, it makes sense that Kairi Sane would win, but I didn't expect it.
I'd just like to point out another thing. In the crowd at this point, they showed Ronda Rousey and the other the four horsewomen of UFC.
Who were supposed to be there, by the way, the whole time.
Yeah, who were apparently there the whole time. Clearly not, as the audience reacted to them at that precise fucking moment. But anyway, she was cheering Shayna on.
Yeah.
I mean, Shayna's very clearly a heel.
Evil.
Yeah, evil baby midget. And then you're fucking having a baby face, one of a charismatic, loved baby face. Just cheer her on. It makes no sense. But anyway, I bet you that was a main roster decision. But anyway, this ended with Kairi, after, by the way, applying a series of insane elbows, which started with a vicious one to Shayna's back. Anyway, this went back and forth for a while, but it ended with her applying the final, third and final insane elbow, which was met by fucking Shayna putting up her little baby midget feet, and Kairi just came hard down on those. At that point, Shayna turns that into a Kirifuda clutch, and it looked like that was it. The bell was tolling for old Kairi Sane, but then she rolls up out of the Kirifuda clutch.
Yeah, that was,
which pinned Shayna down to the mat, and that was 1, 2, 3, and boom.
Yeah,
she lost.
Now, I do want to talk about how whenever they do these kind of like surprise, it's usually roll-ups on main roster. Whenever they do the surprise pins, it always kind of sucks, and it always kind of like, that sucked. And this one, it was actually genuinely pretty shocking.
Yeah.
And it made me go, that's weird, but cool, but weird.
And it kind of works because it never, it really worked because the whole narrative of the fucking thing was that Kairi Sane was this ultimate underdog. Despite the fact that she had beat Shayna, they had really impressed on the audience that Shayna had grown dramatically as a fighter. I mean, she really literally had not lost up to this point, mowed down everybody, made a fool of everybody. So Kairi Sane was the underdog, and she looked that way the whole match. She looked like she was struggling to, as well she should. She's so tiny. There's no way they could convincingly sell that she was going to win any other way, but some interesting.
She out-grappled her, basically.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, it was about ring technique, and it worked. It really worked out. But yeah, you're right. Usually when they do some weird little roll-up, something with no, bombast behind it, you're like,
yeah, that's stunk.
But here it fucking worked, surprisingly. But anyway, any cons to this match?
No, I have no cons. Yeah, I have no cons that I can think of.
If I had to say one, it's that Kyrie, though again the narrative was that she was kind of an underdog, looked a little sloppy at times, but it did kind of work into the fact that
Yeah,
she was going up against this brute, and the fact that Shayna was playing up that role really helped that. But it all works out in the end, so it was a great match. I'm just nitpicking, really, if I got to say anything. But the next one concludes, maybe, probably not though, one of the greatest feuds we've seen, and that is the Gargano Ciampa feud that has stretched out over a year now.
Yeah.
And of course they've encountered each other in a variety of gimmick matches, if you will, in these last takeovers. This one was a last man standing match. Originally, Aleister Black was going to be involved in this, which was exciting, but now in retrospect,
It doesn't make sense.
it's not that it doesn't make sense as the belt was in play.
Yeah.
It's more that now in retrospect, it's kind of a good thing that he wasn't in there.
Yeah.
It would have taken something out of what the thrust of this entire thing was to begin with, and in turn added an element that didn't need to really be there at this precise moment.
Yeah.
However, now he can come back with even more meaning because Ciampa did retain. And anyway, did you expect that? Did you not expect that? Who did you want to win? Who did you expect to win?
At this point, I was expecting Gargano to win just because this has been going on for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And last man standing seems like the perfect stipulation for him to win the title from Ciampa from.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a lot of sense. So I was a little shocked with what happened, but at the same time, I kind of am glad if they're gonna continue this. I'm happy because this has been the best feud in forever.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you in the sense that I wanted Gargano. I think everybody wants Gargano to win.
Yeah, at this point.
However, the elements they've introduced into his character, i.e.,
yeah, that's true.
He's mentally frayed by the fact that Ciampa is in the position because he basically put him there, and the fact that he can't beat him right.
Yeah.
He's a man on the verge, and they're really playing it up, especially with his relationship, which he's basically just abandoned at this point.
Yeah.
They're really playing up this guy that's
So yeah, it's definitely going somewhere.
Yeah, he's definitely in a gray area. He's no longer 100% babyface, and this match showed it as he went further and further into the extremes. And granted, this is the last man standing match, so you expect them to use anything at their disposal. But he was showing basically, heelish tendencies without being a heel. So, yes, this is good. There would have been a more conclusive end to it had the Aleister Black element been played into it. But now they can continue this storyline and see where this takes Gargano exactly. Yeah. In the meantime, they could play with Aleister Black and Ciampa with the title. So I think what they're doing, maybe, is they're drawing a parallel between what happened to Ciampa now with Gargano, because there was a lot of parallel callback spots in this. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah.
To other matches they've had, and at the end, of course, the most notable one is that Gargano applies a running knee to Ciampa, ends up hurting himself, just like Ciampa did when he took him out first at the Betrayal. So there's these parallels that they're drawing, and maybe I'm giving WWE too much credit, but this is NXT, not the main roster, so maybe there is a little credit due. I think maybe they're building something up here that's going to run a little longer and might potentially be even better than we've already seen.
It would have been. This is why I'm okay with the finale or how it happened, despite of course wanting Gargano to win, because of that. And I'm gonna give them credit and say they're building to something, and I'm really curious what they're gonna do with this. Because freaking Gargano's beloved, but even then, some of the crowd is kind of starting to be like, "All right, chill out, dude."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting what they're doing. So I'll wait and see what's gonna happen. So ultimately, I think it was a good result.
Yeah, I agree with that. But anyway, let's talk about the match real quick. This being a last man standing match, anything goes basically, and there were plenty of spots to keep, anybody from the most seasoned watcher to a new watcher entertained. And, everything from table spots, some pretty mean looking table spots, no less. Ciampa being driven through the commentary table.
Destroying Percy's face with his foot.
Yeah, Percy shitting himself once again.
Yeah,
somewhere along
we assume.
It's pretty much concrete that he shit himself. Yeah, man. Handcuffs, chairs, a double table spot. It looked a little weird at first, but, it worked out. Yeah. Thankfully, nobody got something driven into their
I was like,
spines.
man, someone's going to get their ass impaled.
Yeah. Old Ciampa getting his head clobbered on a variety of things. And yeah, finally, of course, the horse in the room was that running knee spot at the end. Because last man standing means whoever can't get up at the count of 10 is the loser. And basically what ended up happening was Gargano handcuffs Ciampa to some sort of fucking grate, metal grate. On the stage. The ramps, the stage, ramp stage area, and he handcuffs him there, which of course kind of keeps him on the ground level. Eventually goes for the running knee strike. I believe he was the intention was that he hit him, but when they showed it from another angle, he missed him by like 10 billion feet.
The first time they showed it, it actually looked but then when they replayed it, you're like, oh man.
Yeah, he missed him like big time. But either way, the point is. Either way it works. You could say that Ciampa was playing possum or whatever the fuck. The point is that old Gargano ends up fucking up his knee because, he had so much steam behind him that he can't get up when the count of 10 comes, and all Ciampa has to do is roll off the stage onto the ground. So it was a loss, but it was a loss with this kind of weird, a loophole in it that you could say, well,
Yeah.
And of course, we got the story running behind it. So yeah, overall,
Morrow claims that he might have had his knee dislocated,
right?
Which again is a weird parallel with Ciampa.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it definitely looks like they're taking this thing further and into more interesting realms, which is good because I don't think they should have left Johnny just hanging there in this weird kind of mental state where he's at. That would have been weird for him to just win at that point. But it's something I didn't think about until Alistair was taken out of the equation. So that's it. I will say that at one point I thought Alistair was just going to come in and do a fade to black on somebody, and that would have been, which would have not been good. But I had that feeling at one point, like, this is not going to end conclusively for either of these two, and that's what's going to happen. So I'm glad that didn't happen either. But anyway, that was it, man. That was it. Unlike tomorrow's SummerSlam, which is going to have 10 brilliant fucking matches, this one was short and sweet to the point, and everything mattered. And it was entertaining through and through. What would you say was your favorite match, and what's your final score on this one?
My favorite match, it's between Mustache Mountain one and the last one, Ciampa. I'm gonna have to, just because of how good the feud's been so far, and where they might take it, I'm gonna have to give it to Tommaso Ciampa VS Gargano. But Mustache Mountain and Undisputed Era were pretty high up there. They were pretty good.
Yep, and I'll echo that sentiment. It was the same for me. It started strong, it ended strong, and everything in the middle was delicious. Just like a fucking s'more.
Just like a nougat.
Well, maybe not s'more because graham crackers, I mean, how do they compare to fucking marshmallow and fucking... unless you like graham crackers, I guess. So if you're 80-year-old, that's a good fucking metaphor. But anyway, the point is it was a great event.
Like a Twinkie, the cream in a Twinkie.
I've taken this metaphor. The point is it was a great event. Once again, they've schooled the main roster. Score on a scale of 1 to 10.
Scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna give it a freaking 8.5.
Yeah, and I'll mirror that as well. There's a solid 8.5. Check it out if you haven't already. It's totally worth it. It'll definitely be better. One of these matches will be better than the entirety of SummerSlam.
Man, I'm so not looking forward to SummerSlam.
Yeah, I am. They have built none of those stories up well.
And the ones they have suck my ass dry, like Roman.
Yeah, and the ones that I'm interested in seeing, like the Ronda stuff, I mean, it's because she's... something to watch.
Yeah.
She's hopefully the future of the company, but even that story's been kind of shitty.
Yeah, it has.
All the stories fucking suck so far over there. It's going to be a hard one tomorrow. But anyway, in the meantime, watch this. Hit like, share, subscribe for more reviews, more crazy videos about wrestling. We're not going to do all the standard shit that everybody does. We're just going to do stupid shit, really. But
Yeah,
anyway,
pretty much.
we are the Wrestle Ramblers. I'm Ahab, that's Goontic, and we're out.